Wix.com has its own mobile editor, and by default, your website should be pretty much optimized for mobile devices. However, you do need to go in there and make some changes, and that's what we are going to do in this lesson. Now, when I say mobile optimized, what am I really talking about? That means getting your website to fit the different screen sizes that are out there. As you know, when it comes to mobile devices, you have really big giant ones and you have really tiny small ones, and each of them have different screen sizes. Now, if you don't optimize for mobile, then your desktop site will show up on their tiny screen, and a lot of times they need to pinch and zoom, and it's really hard to navigate a website that's not optimized. But more than that, as of 2018, Google will actually lower your ranking in search results if your site is not optimized for mobile. And believe it or not, the algorithms are good enough that Google can tell that you have not optimized. So, optimizing means getting your website to automatically adjust itself to whatever smaller screen that it should appear. Now, there is something called responsive design, and that's when you design the website one time and then the screen size will change accordingly. However, responsive design still requires you to manually put in all the different screen sizes. Now, there may be, 5 or 6 of the major ones, and the responsive site will adjust to each of those major screen sizes. But what Wix has done instead is literally copy your site into it's sort of a whole different site just for mobile devices. So there's a desktop site and a separate mobile site. Now, when I mean separate, it is still part of the same HTML5 code of your desktop site. So you don't really have to create two completely different sites. Think of them as more like mirror sites of each other. They share the same exact domain name. They share all the same exact graphics, media, everything, but they're mirrors. But maybe the mobile device is more of a funhouse mirror, and that it's not an exact replica, but rather a mobile optimized copy. You're going to understand more about what I'm saying when I go into the mobile editor. So here I am on a desktop site. We're at alphawriting.com. This is my home page. Let's go ahead and take a quick preview. So right here you have the logo. There's a moving video going behind the logo. When I scroll down, you have this parallax scrolling. You have some signs, there's some other information. You see there's the background, the wood background right there behind the panels. So there's a lot of three-dimensional effects that are happening. You have various links, you have a countdown timer, you also have a blog feed down at the bottom, and a footer down here at the bottom. Now, this site is, as of this recording, still under construction, so the site you see today may look slightly different, but I still wanted to demonstrate how to optimize the site for mobile devices using Wix. So I'm going to optimize alphawriting.com in a think aloud sort of method so you can understand what's happening behind the scenes. So to go ahead and optimize, I'm going to click on back to editor, and various functions for mobile devices appear in Wix from time to time. So as of this recording, I'm showing you what's current as of 2018. Let's go ahead and click on mobile. See right here up in the top corner you have the mobile icon. And you can see I can select which view we want. And I can also check or uncheck this box that says make your site mobile friendly. Most of the time you're going to want to check that. So it should be blue with the blue check mark. That means you are mobile ready. But we need to go in and actually make some adjustments. So let's go ahead and click on edit mobile view. And the editor now switches to a mobile site. There's a little tutorial over here on the left. We're going to go ahead and skip that for now. So you have a really long cell phone. Now, nobody's cell phone is this long, at least at the time of this recording, but it's there to show you sort of the real estate that your website is taking. Now, if I were to show a quick preview here, you're going to notice some major differences. Now, the graphics are all there. Title, everything's there. I did not have to retype the title or add the photos again. It works like a mirror site, so whatever you change on the desktop will affect what you see on the mobile site. However, things look a little jumbled up. For example, this logo may not be exactly centered. I'm in the preview, so I can't move anything around right now. But as I scroll down, you can see that the site has been formatted for this screen. You notice all the text has been pinched in and centered. All of those columns fill up the screen from edge to edge. We don't have to zoom in. Everything is basically centered. And this is what we mean by mobile optimized. If I looked at the desktop site on the same phone, we would have to pinch and zoom and pan around with our finger, which is not as intuitive as having the ability to use your finger to scroll up and down the device, which is what most people do. When they use their phones, it's almost become second nature. It's how we move through Facebook and Instagram and all those other apps. It's just a simple scroll. So this is basically optimized for mobile. Now, is it pretty? Not exactly. There's a lot that needs to be adjusted, but I wanted you to understand the relationship between the desktop site and the mobile site, and that the graphics and text, everything, the colors, they're all the same, except they've been centered and resized for the mobile device. You're also going to notice that there is no video background like we had on the desktop site. And so that's on purpose. You don't have video backgrounds on mobile devices. Most of that has to do with bandwidth issues and otherwise slowing down your site. And on a mobile device, people want to be able to get to information very quickly, and you don't want your website to load, really slowly because of videos and other things like that. So they've already removed the ability for the video background to be happening. Instead, what you have is a still shot. Now let's go back to the editor. That was the preview mode. So here we're in the editor, and there's some tools over here on the left. There's menus and pages. So what we can do, we can actually hide pages on the mobile device, on the mobile site, but they can still appear on the desktop site. Now, why would you want to hide a page when someone looks at it on their phone? Well, a lot of times you might have a page that has maybe a very large spreadsheet or something that's just not going to translate very well when sized down for mobile devices. So, or maybe a huge month-long calendar with lots of different layers of calendars stacked up. That's not going to translate onto a mobile device very well. So you can hide those pages, and if anybody really wants to look at those things, they'll just have to go to the desktop site. Your mobile site should have the ability for people to contact you, and that would be your number one priority. A mobile site, although should look nice, being pretty and all is not a priority. Although there are ways we can, of course, make it look attractive, and I certainly would never want to leave the site looking as jumbled as this one is right now. But I just wanted you to understand that the priority for mobile devices is speed, finding ways for customers to contact you or to perform certain actions, maybe buying something or subscribing to something or even watching a video that you might have displayed maybe you have a collection of videos. And so it's those quick actions that will take priority. Now, what I could do in the editor, I can of course click on any element here, and I could easily move anything from text to graphics. Now when it comes to graphics, I can easily resize these, and I can get them nice and centered. You can see the pink guidelines appearing to show you how well you're centering your objects. For the text, I don't have those same four corners to adjust the size. For text, you can basically make boxes skinnier or fatter here. And the other thing we could do is make the text smaller, or we can enlarge the text. You notice I can't change the font. I can't change the colors or add shadows and other effects. If you wanted to change the font, you would have to do that on the desktop site, and then the mobile site will just simply copy it. So there's only certain limited amounts of editing you can do on a mobile site. You mostly are concerned about getting everything centered and everything in the right place. Now, I could sit here and go through all of this and try to make everything centered, and that is quite a tedious task. But Wix has a shortcut button that I want you to notice, and it's over here on the left. And right here at the bottom, it says Page Layout Optimizer. So we can click this button, and the AI will actually attempt to fix a lot of things up before you have to touch anything. So let's go ahead and optimize now. You may not see the changes immediately, but as I scroll through, you're going to see that things are not as jumbled up. In fact, things look much more centered than they were, but of course there is still some manual things we need to do. As you see, it made the logo bigger and centered, and it spaced the text properly. They'll also close up any gaps that might be there. So this graphic is built on a strip, and if I were to push it down, do you see the page background right there? That's the wood grain. Well, instead of manually moving things around, the editor detects that this is a open space here, so I could just say delete the space, and that pushes my strips right back up. This is why you should really build your desktop using strips and columns, because when it comes to optimizing for mobile, it's so much easier to move things around. Right here you see a tiny sliver of the background of the page, and so I could just simply delete the space. That's a shortcut. Now, because the background of my web page, which is this wood grain, is not as important on a mobile site. Remember, I talked about speed and getting access to contact tools is most important. So I don't really need the wood grain. It might be a bit too much. So to do that, to change it, I could just change this page background. And I could change a background, and this is one of those situations where the page background will actually be different than the desktop site. So if I change it to these this cool palm tree background, you could see the blue right there. If I move this strip down, you could see the blue clouds right there. Now, when I go to the desktop site, I'm going to switch to desktop. I'm going to edit desktop view. I want you to notice when I move this strip down, it's still the wood grain. So once again, you can change the background of your mobile site. Now, what I suggest you do is really don't have any page background, because that's a photo that needs to load before everything else gets loaded. So I suggest you go ahead and pick a solid color. It could even just be white or black. Just a simple color in the background. And now, you notice when I made the background white, it's much harder to see where the background is versus the strip, because this strip has white in it. That's where the delete space button really comes into play, because it already detects that there's background being exposed. So I made it white. That makes the site much faster to load on a mobile device. And then I'm going to move this button and just center it right there. Now, notice the button looks like it kind of disappeared, didn't it? So what I'm going to do is right click and I'm going to say arrange, and I want to go ahead and move that circle backwards, and this is where you control those layers. And now I can go ahead and move the button and it didn't disappear somewhere behind the object. So right there. Now you also notice there are certain sections we can hide. We can hide the entire section. So there goes that entire strip. It's gone. If you want it back, just simply click on the eyeball that says show element and it comes back. There could be things that just don't make sense on the mobile site, so you could just hide it if you want to. All right, so I went ahead and undid it because I do want to show it. Let's delete the space that's here. And we need to move our button back to where it was. Right click, arrange, move backward, and there's our button. It's right there again. Okay, there's a space right down here. Let's go and delete that space. There it is. Okay, space is deleted. This is a text block. I can kind of make it maybe a little bit smaller. And you notice this strip is overlapping this strip, so I'm going to go ahead and push this down using this anchor button here. And that pushes everything else down. And I'm going to delete the space. That pulls it right up right there. Let's delete this space. Now it goes into the courses here. You notice the timer works, so that's really good. We have our Facebook Live and YouTube buttons. Those are fine. And then we have the blog posts that occur. And then our latest news. And if I do a preview, this is actually set to someone to basically swipe through all the different blog posts. Now I accidentally changed pages, so I just need to go click on the page management here and go back to the main page. So you'll want to take the time to go through here and fix all of the different details. Okay, now let me show you some other tricks when it comes to mobile optimizing for mobile devices. So what you're going to do is go through each page and make sure they're optimized. So let's go to the About page, click on Page Layout, Optimize Now. Always just do that as a habit. And then you'll have to go ahead and rearrange these different areas. This is a photo gallery. It's a simple swipe there that's already done for you. So you want to go through here and just get everything centered and get everything nice and clean. In the next video, I'm going to show you some optimized for mobile tips and tricks and some little gadgets you can add using the Wix editor. So we'll see you in the next lesson.